And he was not trusting. There was so many, and when I was in there, I couldn't wear a transmitter because he had all these detection devices.
Yeah.
So by the time I got through those layers and I was in the back with him, I mean, if he was going to kill me, there was no cover team that was going to save my ass.
You are listening to Gangland Wire, hosted by former Kansas City Police Intelligence Unit Detective Gary Jenkins.
Well, hey, all you wiretappers. In this segment of my interview with Lou Volze, the ATF agent who worked undercover for so many years, he's going to tell us about the time he infiltrated an associate of the Chicago outfit. Now, there was a guy named Mark Polchan who was like a diamond store, a jewelry store, a variety of other things, electronics, kind of like a pawn shop, I guess, and in Cicero in Chicago, and he worked under Mike Sarno, also known as Big Mike, who was a violent, vicious Chicago outfit boss of the new era. After everybody had gone to jail, Mike was he was kind of becoming the man. He had a video poker business. He had hired Mark Polchan to go set a bomb under an associate, and the guy set the bomb off, and FBI was already working on this whole crew because they were involved in stealing, like truckloads of TVs and electronics, and that was part of what Lou got into. But Lou was supposed to help solve this bombing because he's ATF, but that's just like a cover that they use when they want a good undercover. And Mark Polchan was a member of the Chicago Outlaws motorcycle gang. And so this motorcycle gang, this was their connection to the outfit. And it's really an interesting story how he moved in on this guy. I tell you, the first intro into this guy, you got to hear this. It is unbelievable. Like, oh my God, it was genius. It was, true genius how he got in and got the guy's confidence. And it was, I don't know, a year long or more operation. They ended up taking Polchan down and Sarno down. And matter of fact, Sarno just was trying to get out, saying he had COVID. I think he was so fat. If you're obese, you have more problem with COVID, but he didn't, and I don't think he's going to. But this is quite a story, so just sit back and listen. Thanks, folks. So you mentioned about some mob activity, the primary focus of this podcast. One last thing, can you tell us a little bit about what you did with was it a mob crew that you infiltrated and did some deals with?
Yeah, it was a bizarre case. It was the outfit up in Chicago. They call them the outfit.
Yeah.
That's what they call the mafia up there. And I actually went up there. The case originated because they had done a bombing. This guy himself had done a bombing. They were putting in their video poker, video gambling machines into businesses around Chicago. And if they approached you because they wanted to put the gambling machines in, they weren't really asking you, right? Yeah. The mob kind of tells you what to do.
Yes.
And I don't remember exactly what happened, but someone wasn't going along with the program. And you know what happens when you don't go along with the mob's program, right? So they blew the place up. And it was actually the one time that I saw that the FBI and the ATF worked together productively. The only time in my career. And so the FBI had sent three guys after this guy, 2 dirty cops and another guy. And they were all childhood friends of his that the FBI had flipped. Yeah. And this guy had sniffed all of them out. He was a sharp guy. He was not a convicted felon. He had never been convicted of anything. Very smart, very cautious. So my guy, the ATF guy up there, he was, obviously they were Italians, and this guy was a big fight fan of, the MMA stuff and all that. So he had an idea. He's like, you know what? He was thinking of me. He goes, I got a guy who I can send in cold on this guy, and let's give it a shot. See if he can run his game, just cold. So he had the guy who I was going after had a jewelry store, a jewelry business. in Cicero, which is where Capone's headquarters were, right, in Chicago. And it was a total front for criminal activity, right? There was like 3 layers to get in, and he had his back room that's where the mafia dealing, bikers, gangster disciples, you name it. He was dealing with all of them back there. And so my buddy's idea, he was at his dentist's office, and he asked his dentist, he goes, man, you got any gold crowns that you've pulled out, that you keep? Dentist opened up a drawer, pulls out all these gold crowns with the teeth still in them and blood stain.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a calling card. I see where you're going.
Yep. So my buddy bought these from him with ATF money, put them in a Crown Royal bag, sent me over there cold, because the guy did have a sign out there saying we buy gold.
Yeah.
So we did a whole backstory. I went up there, I started training at this MMA gym up there. And that was my reason for being up there. And so I went in cold with this bag of gold teeth, put them on he had a little hole in a turnstile, bulletproof glass.
Yeah.
And, so he was like, well, take get the teeth out. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, a tooth and a crown, I'm trying to smash him. So he hands me a hammer, and I'm on the ground trying to smash him. He's looking at me like, jerk off. So he's like, give them to me. So obviously he had done it before, and he got him out, and I was able to get a little bit of conversation, and, I went back with more teeth.
Yeah.
And he asked me what I was doing. I told him the fight and the whole deal. To make a long story short, after months and months, I finally got in with this guy from that cold start with the teeth. And it was the first time I ever, my objective was not to buy guns or dope.
Yeah.
My objective was to buy stolen electronics from this guy. They were doing the mob thing where they would hit, a truck. They would hit like a truck of flat screens going to Best Buy, right?
Yeah.
But you know how they do it. Like the driver walks away, he parks and walks away, right? And but I guess the FBI was having trouble because they couldn't put the merchandise back to the ship. I guess they make so much money on these, like as far as tracking serial numbers and lot numbers for these,
they don't
best records. So they wanted to start buying them directly from where he was moving them. And I mean truckloads he was moving. So that was my goal, which to me was bizarre, right? I was an ATF agent, and I was supposed to buy flat screen TVs and surround sounds. And he was not trusting. There was so many. And when I was in there, I couldn't wear a transmitter because he had all these detection devices.
Yeah.
So by the time I got through those layers and I was in the back with him, I mean, if he was going to kill me, there was no cover team that was going to save my ass. He couldn't, even the local cops would tell him, hey man, he would get a call while I was in there. Hey man, the feds are out here. They're sitting on your place. They knew because, there's that easy pass thing. In almost every city, Chicago, I guess like the people of Cicero, like that is such a little community. No one who lives there has that because they don't even leave their little town. So they knew when they saw a car out there with that easy pass who would just cops knew that those were the feds.
That's great, man.
Timing them out. Yeah. I'd be in there and he would get the call. Hey man, the feds are sitting out front.
God.
He had cameras and all that shit.
Yeah.
So it was a wild case. There came a point in that case where he asked me to go to a strip joint with him in Chicago. And I didn't even realize, I didn't know it was his birthday. And we're sitting there, it was his 40th birthday. And he's telling me, he's like, you know what? He goes, man, I can't even trust the people around me. I can't trust the people I grew up with. That's where I'm at in my life.
Yeah.
He goes, so he was thanking me for being with him, being trustworthy and all that. And I'm thinking the whole time, man, you picked the wrong person, to be trusting. And it was very successful. He actually got 60 years. That was the biggest sentence I've ever gotten.
Wow.
60. And it was a huge trial to mafia, and they were working together with the Outlaws motorcycle gang.
I remember. What was that guy's name? I know it, but you remember his name? I'll look it up.
The main guy was Mike Sarno.
Yeah, Mike Sarno. Right.
That's who this guy directly worked for. His name was Mark Polchan, and he worked directly for Sarno.
What was his last name?
Polchan. Polchan.
Okay. All right.
He just got his sentence reduced from 60 years to 30 years on some technicality.
Yeah.
But 30 years is long enough, I think.
Yeah, probably. That Mike Sarno, he was a bad dude too.
He
but
was. Yeah, I remember.
Everybody in that crew, they were bad.
They called him the large guy, huge guy. He would come into them.
Right.
Everyone would kiss the ring and all that. Yeah, it was a wild case. I did that for a year up there. Very different case. Very different than anything I had ever done.
So when you did like that case, where did you live? You just rent an apartment somewhere down there in Cicero, somewhere kind of in the neighborhood, and live that?
They kept me out of there. The gym we found was in a place called Naperville, which is and so I was out that way.
So where you actually slept at night, you kind of kept that off the books and away from any of those guys, which was smart. I mean, I don't know how you could sleep at night dealing with these people and could not be comfortable if they knew where you lived. Yeah,
I didn't want to be like spending every day with this guy. And he ran a nightclub downtown. I had to go there, and it was, I'd say personally it was terrible for me. I mean, he would nothing but bringing me over drinks nonstop and all that. And after a while, it was an unhealthy lifestyle. You know what I mean?
That undercover deal is pretty unhealthy when it comes to drinking and smoking. They kind of have to. I mean, you almost have to. I think a guy might be able to play it off and say, "Oh, I'm in recovery," but it just doesn't. You're just not gonna really pull it off, I don't think.
No, it was easy to play off the dope, right? Because
that's easy.
Most of the guys who are serious don't do dope.
Right.
Most of the bad guys. So it was, but the drinking there was no getting around that, man. You were drinking.
Yeah. It's almost they take it as an affront if you don't have a drink with them, especially was he one of these guys that had to, every time you took a drink, he said salute and then took a drink. Yeah. I drank with one of those guys once.
Yeah,
he never put the glass to their lips without saying salute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lou, this has been I'm like, my mind's turned about another question to ask. This has been great. Is there anything else you want to add?
I just, my book, which came out about a month and a half ago, Storefront Sting, an ATF Agent's Life Undercover. So it mostly tells the tale of the 4 storefront operations that I did, that I ran from, beginning to finish. And, I just started out kind of with what the things that I was doing before these storefronts, before the storefront opportunity came to me. I was doing murder for hires. I was doing gang infiltrations. But again, once I got a taste of this storefront and I saw it kind of became my calling card when I saw the results, from the same effort and how much greater the results were. But I also kind of interject what happens to you personally when you live this life and you do it for too long, and who gets hurt by that. And that's your family. Yeah. And that's your friends. And so it's kind of a theme throughout, because it's a story of great professional success, but it ends in professional and personal failure, because I ran it right into the ground. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not alone in that. A lot of my colleagues have done the same thing, but, kind of toward the end of the book, I'm receiving all sorts of awards, man. OCDF Case of the Year, DOJ Project Safe Neighborhood Gun Crime Investigation of the Year, Gang Investigation of the Year, U.S. Attorney's Office Agent of the Year. But you know what awards weren't coming my way? Father of the Year, Husband of the Year, Friend of the Year. Yeah. So, I kind of end the book that way with, that's how I ended up. I lost my priorities because the job doesn't care about you. You know that, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. You leave and you're replaced. Or
what are you doing for me today? And if you're not doing anything for me today, let's find somebody else.
Yep. The job goes on. Yeah. And if you've neglected what's important in your life, you got a lot of making up to do. Yeah. And I did. And I'm still there. I'm still making up for it. But so that's kind of the point of the book. It's not a tough guy, ride off on a Harley in the sunset ending at all. Man, it's a story. It's a real story about what it's really like to work undercover, what it does to you. But it's a wild ride and it's super exciting.
It's great stories. I had Giovanni Russo from New Jersey. He was He was a local cop that, of course, ended up working cases with the Bureau, I believe. And he reports a lot of the same thing. And his Giovanni's Ring, I think is the name of his book. And he reports a lot of the same thing and deals with that in his book. So it's a common theme among you guys. And I can see why. I mean, I know enough of you because I didn't, just a little bit I did when I was young and drinking a lot. I was not the father of the year. I wanted to be in there. I wanted to be in there on surveillance, be in there sitting in a bar where the mob guys were coming in. It was, it was like became this lifestyle. And the time I'm 38, I'm realizing, okay, that's, let's knock off this drinking. Let's get promoted. Let's move on into something else. But smart. I didn't keep it up. All right, Lou, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I will let you know when I get this up.
Storefront Sting, an ATF agent's life undercover.
And remember, if you are a friend or suffering from PTSD, check out the Veterans Administration resources. Just go to Google and Google PTSD and Veterans Administration or VA, and you'll find that website. And you'll find there's a hotline and there's links there to help you find resources to deal with that problem. And remember to look out for motorcycles on the road and stay safe. Bye, folks.
You can get it on Amazon.
All right. Cool.